All right, so we're going to dive into some pretty interesting stuff today.
Yeah, sounds good.
We're looking at the UK and some recent statements they've made about how they're kind of shifting their approach to immigration enforcement.
Okay.
And we've got this transcript from a Times Now YouTube video.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating. It really lays out their intentions and some of the actions they've already taken.
Interesting.
Our mission today, I guess, is to really try to unpack the key parts of this approach and see what's the logic behind it.
Yeah, definitely worth exploring.
One of the first things that jumped out at me was this emphasis on action.
Yeah.
It's not just talking about policies. It's like they're drawing a direct line between the need for enforcement and then the actual steps they're taking on the ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really striking is that it's not just rhetoric, right? We're seeing this connection being made between what they're saying and then the concrete actions that are happening as a result.
Right. And at the heart of it, it seems to be about really ramping up immigration enforcement and like actually getting people who aren't supposed to be in the UK out.
Yeah.
The transcript actually uses this phrase about ensuring the asylum and immigration system works as it should. So it's really about protecting the system itself, I guess.
It is. And, the argument they're making is that enforcement isn't just something you do after the fact.
Right.
It's like a proactive necessity to make sure the system is fair and functional for everybody involved.
Yeah. And the logic there is if the rules aren't consistently applied, then the whole framework kind of falls apart.
Exactly. If there's no real consequence to breaking the rules, then what's the point of having them in the first place, right?
And it's not all talk either. They point to some pretty significant activity since the recent election. Something like 19,000 individuals have been returned.
Wow.
So is that a big shift?
Yeah, 19,000, that's a pretty big number, especially in a short time frame.
Yeah.
We don't have the exact historical data here, but a number like that definitely suggests this is a top priority for them.
Yeah.
And it probably means they've put a lot of resources into making it happen.
Yeah, and you got to think about the logistics of that too.
Oh, absolutely.
10,000 people. That's a lot of moving parts.
For sure.
And it's not just about individuals either. They're also talking about cracking down on illegal working.
Right.
And going after the employers who are exploiting migrant workers. It feels like they're hitting this issue from both sides.
That's a really important point. They're acknowledging that irregular migration isn't just about border security.
Right.
It's about what's happening within the UK, too, the economic factors that might be pulling people in.
Right. So if they target the employers who are hiring people who aren't allowed to work, they're taking away some of the incentive for people to come illegally in the first place.
Exactly. And it also levels the playing field for businesses that are following the rules.
Right. There's a fairness aspect to it, for sure. And the transcript actually uses this phrase, proper fairness, proper enforcement in the system, and proper respect for the rules as well.
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting how they put those three things together.
Yeah, it suggests that enforcement isn't just about, following the law. It's also about how people perceive the system.
Right.
If it doesn't feel fair, if it feels like some people are getting away with breaking the rules.
Yeah, then people lose faith in the whole thing.
Exactly. And it can breed resentment.
Now, there's this one part where they mention working with the U.S. government.
Okay.
And it's specifically about making sure people being deported are treated well on those flights back.
Oh, right.
Which you might not think about at first, but it does suggest they're at least trying to make sure people are treated humanely during the deportation process.
Yeah. It's an important consideration. There are definitely ethical and practical issues around how people are returned.
Absolutely.
And engaging with another government on that level shows they're thinking about those things.
Right. Then the transcript shifts gears a little, and they start talking about this strong crackdown on the illegal migration industry.
Okay.
So that kind of language makes it sound like they see irregular migration as this organized thing with networks and people profiting from it.
Yeah, almost like an industry.
Exactly. And then, interestingly enough, they also talk about making it easier for legitimate travelers to get visas.
That's an interesting contrast.
Right. So it sounds like a two-pronged approach.
Tougher on those who are breaking the rules, but maybe more streamlined for those who are following the legal pathways.
And that contrast is telling, right? It suggests that it's not about reducing overall immigration.
Right.
It's about being very clear about who's allowed in and who isn't.
Yeah. They're trying to draw a sharp distinction between authorized and unauthorized entry and stay.
Exactly. And by focusing on this illegal migration industry, they're making it clear they want to disrupt those networks.
The people who are making money off of this?
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. They actually say they'll use information from people being deported.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're going to use information from returning deportees about the agents and others involved.
Wow, so they're using the act of deportation to gather intelligence.
It's like a feedback loop, right? They deport someone and then use that information to target the people who helped them get there in the first place.
That's a pretty strategic move.
It's not just about removing people from the UK. It's about trying to dismantle the whole system that enables irregular migration.
That adds a whole other layer to this increase in deportations.
So if we kind of zoom out and look at everything we've talked about,
Yeah.
what we're seeing is the UK government really putting a lot of emphasis on enforcement as the key to a fair and effective immigration system.
Right, and that fairness is really central to their justification for all of this.
Absolutely. They're increasing deportations, cracking down on illegal employment, working with the U.S. on how deportations are carried out, and trying to take down what they call the illegal migration industry.
While also trying to make things easier for people who are coming to the UK legally.
Right. So it's this multifaceted approach with fairness and the rule of law at its core.
And that whole intelligence gathering thing adds another dimension to it.
For sure, it shows they're thinking long term.
Not just about the individuals, but about the networks behind it all.
So it's a lot to unpack. And it raises some big questions.
Definitely.
Like, how does this all balance with the broader needs of society and the economy?
It's a complex issue with a lot of factors to consider.
Absolutely. And it's something we should all be thinking about as this plays out.
For sure. Thanks for diving into this with me.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.